Exactly 2,000 years ago, the Romans built the richest empire the world had ever seen. And then, they bankrupted themselves with the same monetary mistakes we're making today. The Romans understood something very clearly. Money is never innocent. Sometimes it's a weapon. Sometimes a promise. Sometimes a blatant lie. They had unwritten rules about money. They weren't taught in schools. They were learned in war, in crisis, in the middle of collapse. These were the lessons that lifted Rome. And the same mistakes that destroyed it. And here's the strange part. Every one of them is still valid today. In the 2nd century AD, Rome stretched from the Atlantic to the Euphrates. It ruled over a quarter of all humanity. More than 60 million people lived under a single currency and a single order. The economy was thriving. Grain came from Egypt. Glass from Syria. Silk from China. Ports were full. Markets were loud. And the state treasury was overflowing. And everyone believed one thing. That money bearing the emperor's face would always hold its value. The Roman denarius was like today's dollar. Until one day, it wasn't. At first, money was real. Silver. Gold. Metal with weight. When a Roman bought bread, he handed over something forged by labor. Money wasn't abstract. It was something you could touch. But as Rome grew, money became its most powerful weapon. And then its greatest curse. Because Rome didn't earn its wealth through production. It earned it through conquest. Every victory meant new lands. New slaves. New taxes. As long as wars were won, the system worked. But what happens when war stops? The Romans learned this the same way we are learning it today. Through an illusion. As conquest slowed, the state went into debt. Taxes were raised. On paper, everything looked fine. But in real life, ordinary people were crushed. Sound familiar? Rome didn't collapse in a single day. Trust eroded slowly. And the people who saw it most clearly were the philosophers. Cato warned. Luxury corrodes a society from within. Cicero wrote. Greed is more dangerous than the enemy. Seneca said. Wealth is a tool for the wise, and a chain for the foolish. Marcus Aurelius reminded. Fortune is not freedom. It is merely a test. These weren't moral lectures. They were economic analysis. Rome's moral collapse was its financial collapse. As Rome grew, it needed more. The state consumed. Taxed. Borrowed. Printed money. And every coin it minted whispered the same lie. Don't worry. Everything is under control. Rome had 5 fundamental rules of money. They worked while Rome was rising. They exposed everything while it was falling. And today, they stand right in front of us. 1. Money is political. The Romans never denied it. Money is power. Every coin was a message. This order exists because I exist. Augustus understood this well. After wars, he restored trust through money. Nero burned Rome and used money to present himself as the savior. Money became propaganda. Nothing has changed. Faces changed. The game never did. 2. Every debt is a chain. Rome ran on debt. And debt became addiction. When Caesar erased debts, he wasn't being generous. He was buying loyalty. Today we see debt as opportunity. Rome did too. 3. Luxury rots silently. In Rome, it started small. It ended in spectacle. When appetite became culture, discipline disappeared. Collapse didn't come from invasion. It came from habit. 4. Inflation destroys everything. Silver disappeared. Lies multiplied. People no longer trusted money. Or anything else. 5. When faith in money dies, power dies with it. Rome didn't lose its currency. It lost trust. Money is a story. When the story ends, the empire ends. Today, there is no denarius. There is the dollar. But the feeling is the same. Rome lived in togas. We live in suits. The rules didn't change. Money is never just money. It is character. And when a society forgets that, collapse is no longer a surprise. If this narrative gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has already given us the answer.